Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
It is not out of place and unimaginable to say that most Nigerians have given up on their hope for a new Nigeria. This situation that we are in cannot be divorced from one of the prophecies of the end times, that darkness will cover the earth and gross darkness the people. To a perceptive mind, and to those Nigerians whose minds have been regenerated, coming to terms with the reality that the best of light is seen in gross darkness, and at worst times as we are in, will not be a difficult task. It is important to note that where the wit of man ends is where the wisdom of God begins. It is not impossible for God to use wicked people to achieve his purpose, which as a matter of fact may involve putting his children in very tough and precarious situations, as being experienced now in Nigeria. More often than not, the hard way may lead to the promised land, but bear in mind that God also will visit those oppressors of his children in due course. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. Exodus 13:17. What else can we do is a common question that will be on the lips of Nigerians at this time, especially having done all that they knew to do by going out to cast their vote for a candidate of their choice whom they think, believe in, and looked unto as the God sent. Permit me to say to every Nigerian who is alive today that there is still light at the end of the tunnel. It is important also to say that in case the tunnel is long, we should lighten our tunnel as we go, with a light of hope and the determination in our hearts concerning the fulfillment of God's promise regarding the promise of a new Nigeria, which is the expected promised land. Illusions commend themselves to us because they save us pain and allow us to enjoy pleasure instead. We must therefore accept it without complaint when they sometimes collide with a bit of reality against which they are dashed to pieces. Sigmund Freud. Reality, as far as Nigeria is concerned, is that sense should not be expected to bring about the change that we are eagerly expecting. For everything about leadership in Nigeria, especially at the top echelon of power, is already saturated with the wicked and ungodly people. The seat of power in Nigeria has ceased to be the seat of equity and justice, and has become a place where the people in power believe that the end justifies the means. In a situation like this, because the ways of God are not our ways, and neither are his thoughts our thoughts, it is not impossible for God to use the wicked to do his will, because the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Proverbs 21 verse 1. This is the wisdom of God that Nigeria should put to use and allow to find a practical expression in their day-to-day living. Rather than go by the saying that if you cannot win them, you join them, choose to say that if you cannot win them, let God use them to carry out his will and purpose, even against their own will, to move Nigeria to the promised land. This is scriptural because there are many plans in the heart of a man, nevertheless, that of God will stand. Proverbs 19 verse 21. Take the situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria as if we are in captivity in our own land. This is not new, for one can be taken captive out of his land to another land, and one can also be enslaved in his own land. The truth that remains incontrovertible is that whosoever leads into captivity shall himself also go into captivity. We are enjoined to pray for the peace of the land in which we are made captives, for surely the time of our visitation is at hand, because God's thoughts for our lives are those of peace and not of evil, to give us a future and an expected end. The spillover of the enthronement of illegality which has its source in the verdict of the Supreme Court that affirmed the position of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, making President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the duly elected President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, can be seen in the mayhem that was experienced in Rivers State, where a sitting governor was almost lynched with an attempt to impeach him unconstitutionally. This anarchical situation was the result of a rift between the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, and his anointed son, Siminalayi Fubara, on Monday, 31st October 2023. This situation led to the use of an explosive in setting the House of Assembly complex on fire.
I'm saying if it happens, but what is important is any attempt that is not justified will be resisted. Let them come out. Let them come out and tell Rivers people, that offense that is what I want. Come out and tell the people of Rivers State that offense that Fubara committed that is warranting impeachment. So that my happiness this morning is the people of Rivers, represented by every one of you here, is with us. I can go home and sleep. Let me assure you people that we will continue to defend you people. We will protect you people. And you will enjoy the dividend of democracy.
As if this was not enough, and in another development, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero, was also manhandled in Imo State on Wednesday, 2nd of November 2023 by armed police officers who invaded the Imo State Secretariat of the Nigeria Labour Congress at the instance of the executive governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodinma. There are conflicting court judgments in respect of the qualification of the APC gubernatorial candidate in Bayelsa State, Chief Timipre Silva, to contest the November 11 gubernatorial election, which can serve as a trigger for violence in the state. The same is the case in Plateau State, where there are conflicting court judgments which are directed at the sitting governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, with a view to removing him from office to favor the APC governorship candidate in the state. These are just the tip of the iceberg. The problems of terrorism and banditry that have mellowed down are not yet abated. At least 40 people were killed in Yobe State between Monday and Tuesday after suspected Boko Haram militants shot at villagers and set off a landmine in the first major attack on the northern eastern state in 18 months. This is a proof to Nigerians that regarding banditry and terrorism, it is not yet Uhuru. Now that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been affirmed by the apex court of the land as the winner of the February 25, 2023 elections and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, all we can do is wish him well. However, the humongous amount of money he proposed as a supplementary budget and sent to the National Assembly for approval is indicative of extravagance and lack of human feelings, especially going by the highlighted reasons for which such huge amounts are proposed. Some of the items to be bought include a fleet of cars for both the office of the president and that of the first lady, including a yacht costing 5 billion naira for the president's pleasure and others. Bearing in mind that only 5 billion naira was earmarked for students' loan facility, this brings the total amount proposed under the supplementary budget as 2.18 trillion naira. It is important to note that this money will have to be borrowed and used for consumption and not production. This action is, to say the least, extravagant, anti-Nigerian, and a contradiction of the mantra of renewed hope. On a final note, The valedictory speech of the retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Musa Dattijo Muhammad, in every respect of it, is an indictment on the integrity and professionalism of the Nigerian judiciary. It said amongst many other things that the CJN is too powerful, and it is said that a person with too many powers corrupts easily and absolutely. According to him, the CJN chairs the NJC, FJSC, NJI, and LPPC. An appointment as council, board, and committee members are at his pleasure. He neither confers with fellow justices nor seeks their counsel or input on any matter related to these bodies. He has both the final and the only say. With this plain description of how strong the office of the Chief Justice of Nigeria,
the Chief Justice of Nigeria is the Chairman of the National Judicial Council, NJC, which oversees both the appointment and discipline of judges. He is equally Chair of the Federal Judicial Service Commission, the National Judicial Institute, NJI, the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee, LPPC, that appoints senior advocates of Nigeria. In my considered opinion, the oversight functions of these bodies should not rest on one individual. A person with absolute powers, it is said, corrupts easily and absolutely. As chair of NGC, FGS, NJI, and LPPC, appointments as council, board, and committee members are at his pleasure. He neither confers with fellow justices nor seeks their counsel or input on any matter related to these bodies. He has both the final and the only say. The Chief Justice of Nigeria has power to appoint 80% of members of the council and 60% of members of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. The same applies to NGI and LPPC. Such enormous powers are effortlessly abused. I repeat, such enormous powers are effortlessly abused. This needs to change. Continued denial of the existence of this threatening anomaly weakens effective judicial oversight in the country.
One can imagine why it was very easy for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to buy over to his side the Nigerian judiciary, since all he needed to do was to buy over the most powerful person, who is the CJN. What a smooth ride was it for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to grab power and run with it. Moreover, the proposal made by Atiku Abubakar, the former Vice President of Nigeria and the presidential candidate of PDP in the presidential election of February 2023, at his World Press Conference of a single term of 6 years for the President of Nigeria and from all the 6 geopolitical zones, would have been a game changer had he preferred a solution to the problem of mediocrity that translates into disregard for character, competence, and capacity, which has bedeviled the country. Without a solution to the problem of incompetent leaders, the overall problem of leadership in Nigeria cannot be holistically addressed. Nigeria as a country is like a vehicle with a knocked engine, and until the engine is fixed, bring the best driver in the world to drive it. The best you would have will be motion and not movement, and with a picture of a rocking chair, well painted to the admiration of all, but to the dismay of Nigerians. The current structure of Nigeria is not permissible for an effective leadership. The only way out is to restructure the country or break it up into pieces for administrative convenience. Without destruction, there can be no reconstruction. You can only renew a living hope, not a dead hope. The hope of Nigerians as we speak is dead. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you for watching.